This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below. Welcome to History in the Eyes of a Southerner with your host, Anthony Allen. On this channel, we will take a journey through time and relate history to the contemporary eyes of modern America. I hope you enjoy the ride as I investigate and document the wonderful events that have shaped our present world. All right, y'all. Good morning. History in the Eyes of a Southerner. Your host, Anthony Allen. And, watching this documentary, and some guys on there is talking about that maybe the Vikings 1,000 years ago sailed as far as New York. Maybe they didn't stop at Newfoundland. Maybe they went further south to Nova Scotia or the coast of Maine. I could see that. I mean, that's all relatively close. Maybe they went down to New York. Maybe they went down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Maybe they came all the way to Florida. Man, by nature, is very restless. Now, we all like good weather, warmer climates. Except in the summertime, we're looking for cooler climates, but just y'all follow me on this. And all of this is speculation. These are questions that I don't think anybody has the answer to. I don't think archaeology has any answers to this question. I got to fix this computer. Leif Erikson sailed with 35 men, 35 very brutal, warrior-like Vikings. And they, for whatever reason, sailed to the west. And when they sailed to the west, they wound up on the east coast of Newfoundland, Canada. They wound up, that beeping's getting annoying. Hang on. Okay, much better. They wound up going to the east coast of Canada, possibly as far south as northern Maine that we can find out. I think that coin was found somewhere in Maine. So we know they went that far. Archaeology tells us that they went that far. But when you have 35 very capable men and you are at the time, some of the most feared people in the world. Granted, the Native Americans, or as they referred to them, Skrylings, wouldn't have really understood that unless they had repeated contact with them at that time. But let's just say, by some stretch, that you and your 35 men made it to the east coast of Canada, which is undisputed. They actually did. They came down to Maine, came through the Massachusetts Bay, kept coming south, found the Hudson River. Wouldn't you want to keep exploring? Again, there's no archaeological evidence to support this. These are all just my speculations. But what if something was found on a remote island in the Bahamas? And Lord knows there's 700 plus islands in that chain. Here in Florida. I mean, most of the coastline in Florida is pretty developed. If they were going to find something, I'm sure it would have been found by now, but the Keys are not all developed. How would that rewrite history? And this is a what if video. Strictly what if. I'm not saying they did. But how cool would it be to rewrite history? I think that it is marginally undisputed that Leif Erikson and his party and parties later didn't explore the Northeast a little bit better. Now, Native Americans, Skrylings as they were called by the Vikings, were probably not very welcoming to these foreign strangers who washed up on their shores. I'm sure of that, and there is documented evidence that they did have conflict with them. But these are guys that you may get one or two of them. They're gonna come back and they're gonna come raise hell. They're gonna come do some stuff. Granted, they did it all over Europe, and Europe obviously was a lot closer to where they could get more reinforcements. But I don't know. I mean, it's a lot easier to sail a couple of 100 miles than it is a couple of 1,000 miles, but I don't know. I think it's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, if you can get to Newfoundland, you can obviously get to any other point. Even coastal sailing in the Americas. I mean, you can get all the way down to the tip of South America, down by the Terra del Fuego if you wanted to. Down to the Straits of Magellan. It's not hard. Once you're here, you literally have an entire coastline to guide you where you're going. It's not like when Christopher Columbus did it and he came straight across the open Atlantic. Food for thought. Again, this is all what if. But knowing the psychology of man, knowing that man is naturally, hey, I wonder what's over there. Wonder what they got going over yonder. Let me go check that out, man. That looks like some cool mountains. That looks like, what is that? Is that another ocean? Or is that just a river? And then next thing you know, they're going up the Hudson River. Much like the Dutch did. And remember this too. The Dutch settled New York City. Not the English, the Dutch. The Dutch were there in 1609. So just 100 and some change years after Columbus made it, and 600 and some change years after Leif Erikson made it, the Dutch were in pretty close to the same area. Could there not have been charts or maps? I mean, the Vikings were excellent sea navigators. Even today, they're excellent navigators still. By today's standards, let alone 1,000 years ago. Of course, depending on what season it was, if they would have head south, they would have left their frigid north coast, and they would have found their way south. They would have wound up to where the fish was better. They would have found more natural resources. The growing seasons were better. So just a food for thought here. Y'all have a good day. I'm going to continue my series on this. Again, this is bringing up more questions than answers, but maybe I can answer some of these questions that I have. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. Think I'm spinning my wheels? Write that too. I don't care. But it's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. Y'all have a good day.